Okay, so again, next, change that to be France and key the address details in. Okay, and on this one I obviously need to be careful that I change that to be euros for the currency, and we're going to change the purchase tax this time to UK 8, which is our standard rated purchases one. Okay, once again I've finished the wizard and save and close. Okay, now what we're going to do is enter some opening balances for the accounts that we've just created. So back down to the setup, and top option in the setup folder is opening balance. Okay, so we'll start putting them in. So the first one is going to be for a UK supplier. Okay, it's going to be an invoice. The bill number is just going to be generated, and the bill date is going to be 1st the 11th 2007. Again, you should change your date back, your system date back to be the November date, or the December date, I should say, just to make sure you get all your transactions in the right period. Okay, so now I've got my first line in. Now, although on the customer one it said F6 to copy, the F6 does still work on here, but the little tag's missing off the bottom. So once I'm happy that I've got the details in there, I can just hit the F6 button and it'll copy it down for me. So this time I just need to change the details. So this time it's the 7th of November. It's PI2. And it's going to be for £200. Okay, and then the next one's going to be a credit line, so I'm not going to copy that down, just put it in. Credits. This is going to be the 1st of the 12th 2007. And then my total gross on the credit is just 50. Okay, and then the next line is going to be a French, so I can just type in part of it there. It's going to be an opening invoice for the 14th of December. Reference 123, €1,000. And lastly, the US supplier. Again, it's an invoice. This time it's going to be dated 1st again. 1st of the 12th. Reference of 234. It's going to be for €2,000 US dollars. Okay, so I've got all my details in there. Click the save button. That'll then save all them to the correct suppliers, and also post the journals and everything for the nominal ledger. If I go into history again, I can see them all there, so I can see what I've done. Okay, so just save and close out of that screen. There's my manual opening balances created. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is some importing into the supplier ledger, or the supplier module. Okay, so again, back to the system manager. That's very similar to customer, the imports that we're going to do in here. We're going to have 3 files that we want to import. So into supplier, and if I just, the first 2 files are going to be on the suppliers one, not opening balances, just suppliers. So if I browse file, it takes me to where my import files are. Now we've got three here. One is suppliers import, that's the first file I'm going to bring in. That's just a list of suppliers' names and addresses with nothing else. The second one is suppliers import, which is a list of names and addresses, but it'll also have an opening balance figure on. It's just a lump sum balance figure that will basically just put one balance amount on the ledger. It's not going to break it down into individual invoices. And the last one is just opening balances on their own. No supplier details at all in there, just opening balances. Okay, so the first one that I want to bring in is the suppliers import. Okay, so next and start importing. I don't need to make any amendments to the first two files at all. Successfully imported. And I'll go and do the same again for the second file. Suppliers import with opening balances. Okay, still using that suppliers import file, import routine. Okay, that's successfully imported too. And then finally, I need to bring in my opening balance, supplier opening balance one. But basically, I need to amend that again like I did for customers. So suppliers opening balances import. Okay, we'll open that up and have a look. And exactly the same as the customer one, we're going to have to put our supplier code in here. Now, for this one, we can see the first two are going to be our French ones, and our second two are going to be our US ones. So I need to go and get them supplier codes from the system. So if I go into supplier and find supplier and have a look for my French supplier, which is top of the list there, that's sup-5 zeros and a 4. So I can just go and put that in. And then the US one is sup-3. So okay, so that's in okay. So I'm going to save my file now, and this should import four opening balances, two to French supplier, two to US supplier. Okay, so if I go into the import wizard again, want to import into supplier opening balances, this time the top, import routine, browse for my supplier opening balances import, and start importing, and hopefully, yeah, successfully imported the table. Okay, next and finish. And now if I go into find supplier, not only have I got all my suppliers in there that I've imported, I've obviously got the opening balances in there. And you can see my French and US supplier there has got opening balance figures there. Okay, that concludes the setup of the supplier module. The next video will look at inventory setup.